I think our stories are so universal. They're specific and very universal at the same time and totally relatable, I think.
That was Thuy Tran, Festival and Exhibitions Director for CAAM, the Center for Asian American Media. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast all about the artists, activists, and small businesses that make this city unlike any other. Welcome to this bonus episode. CAAMFest, the annual event put on by CAAM, kicks off tomorrow. Thuy and I chat about her arrival in the Bay Area and CAAM, the history of the organization, and this year's festival. Learn more at caamfest.com. Here's Thuy.
Hi, my name is Thuy Tran, and I'm the Festival and Exhibitions Director at CAAMFest. My story, so I grew up, I was born in Vietnam, and my family came to the US when I was about 5. And we landed in Massachusetts, where my uncle was living at the time. He's the one who sponsored us over. And we moved around a little bit, but we ended up on Cape Cod, where I grew up for most of my life. I know.
I've never been, but it's Cape Cod. Like, what?
I know. And Cape Cod, I mean, you have the idealistic quintessential view of what you think the Cape is, right? Beaches and presidents. But that was not my experience. My parents had a nail salon there. We were not wealthy like that. We were like the only Vietnamese family on the block. I was one of like a handful of Asians in school. So, I grew up in a very homogenous space. And I went to school in DC, which was not, as homogenous, very different. Went to Georgetown, all of that. So I had pretty much lived most of my life on the East Coast, and I met a lot of folks from California at school. And for some reason, I always had an idea that I wanted to head to the West Coast at some point. And I had my eyes set on the Bay Area, specifically San Francisco. I just knew that there was a lot of Asian American history out here. I knew that there was a lot of Asian American organizations, and I wanted to be a part of that. I think the work that I wanted to do, like just lifting Asian American stories, it felt more possible in the Bay Area. And so, of course, post-grad, I was just floating around trying to figure out what to do. I ended up working in DC for a few years, but eventually, I was like, I just need to make this happen. I just got to move to the Bay. And I literally Googled Asian American entertainment, and CAAM came up, and they had a film festival, and I applied. I didn't get the job.
Oh, moted. Oh, no.
Moted. I know. It was actually the second time that I applied. I got it. And it was just the push that I needed to move out to the Bay Area.
Yeah. Can I ask quickly, Thuy, why you said you thought you needed to be in the Bay? Like, why not LA? Or anywhere else in California?
For sure. I did a little externship in LA where I was part of this program where my school, connected us to all these alums who are working in the Hollywood entertainment industry. It was my first time visiting there. I love the weather. I love the food. I don't know if I love the business vibe down there as much. Yeah. It just didn't really resonate with me. But when I visited the Bay Area, I also love the weather up here too. It's not as hot. And it's just such a beautiful little town or city. And, I met a bunch of folks here, and I just, I guess it just spoke to me a little bit more than LA did. Yeah.
That's the correct answer on this show. Nothing against LA is LA. It's apples and oranges. We just
right.
The one
I love to visit. I love to visit LA.
Exactly. Okay, well, you kind of you brushed on the second time's a charm attempt to get into CAAM. Can you tell us, for those who don't know, tell us about CAAM?
Right. CAAM stands for the Center for Asian American Media. We're 43 years old. So we're one of the oldest and longest running Asian American media organization in the Bay or in the country. And CAM started because there wasn't really a place, to promote and to make support Asian American filmmakers and storytelling. And so, a group of filmmakers and artists and activists got together, created, and CAM was originally called NATA. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of the acronym right now. I can't even think of what the acronym says. Anyway, so it's formerly called NATA, NAATA. Y'all can Google that. Um, and of course, eventually grew into Center for Asian American Media. And we produce. Well, we have fellowship programs. We support emerging filmmakers. We produce documentaries. A lot of them go on to air on PBS. And they're out there for the world to see. We have our largest public program is CAAMFest, which I oversee, and CAAMFest is 42 years old. And CAAMFest was originally called SIAF, San Francisco International Asian American Film Festival. We rebranded in 2013 to CAAMFest. And around that time, we also expanded to encompass food and music programming as well. And so I would say, in recent years with my coming on, we're trying to lean more into that expansiveness. For me as a director, I really try to think about audiences and filmmaker and artist experience on a holistic level. So for me, you're coming not just to see a film, but also thinking about the container that we're building, what happens in that space, who we're intentionally inviting in and bringing in, what kind of conversations, what kind of moderators we want to have. And then, all of that just kind of transfers over into our food and our music programming, having more immersive experiences. Moving into the festival this year, we're building out an industry hub where we have our filmmaker summit, as well as their industry panels and conversations all under one roof. And this is the centralized point for our filmmakers and our creatives, media makers to really just connect and engage with each other so they don't have to, take time to go all over the city. They will still be able to do that, of course, visiting our venues for film screenings and our other programming, though.
Well, there's many things that I love about CAAMFest, but what you just touched on about how it's not only films, which films are huge and wonderful, and they do a lot for us, but the food and music, which to my mind are culture. Food and music, also art, but it's really important and wonderful that you guys have done that as part of CAAMFest. It's all culture, and it's like, here we are. Check us out.
It's all culture, it's all storytelling.
Storytelling,
They're
yeah.
they're all different vehicles for storytelling and ways for us to express our experiences. And like you say, yeah, culturally, of course, like food is such an integral part of our growing up. It was how, our families expressed their love and care for us. And then chefs these days, we feel nostalgic, about places that we never grew up in potentially. And we're trying to recreate like these flavors of our childhood or flavors of a homeland that we feel connected to and not at the same
Mhm.
time. And at the same time, we're also kind of re-envisioning and reinventing, flavors too that we grew up with here in America.
Right.
Um, yeah, and of course, food, is just something that is just so all embodying. And I think everyone has such a different relationship to music. And Asian Americans are really making their stamp in, all of these different genres. And also, Asian Americans have been a part of the music industry for a long time, but it hasn't always been in the mainstream.
Right. Right on. Well, I'm here for it. Let's hear about CAAMFest 2024.
For
Here we
sure.
go.
Here we
This is
go.
what's happening tomorrow.
Our opening night. So this year we are moving to the Palace of Fine Arts. And we're opening with admissions granted by Hao Wu and Miao Wang. And this follows the affirmative action case from 2023, last summer.
Mhm.
It's a really important conversation that we all need to have right now, and we're already seeing all the consequences that are happening from this decision last year. So it's a big film for us to start with, and a little bit. Well, it's just again like these conversations. There's not always a chance for us to talk about this. So what I really hope is that people walk away wanting to learn more and just being more open. And then afterwards, folks are invited to the Asian Art Museum for a gala, aka Asian prom. You do
Nah.
not have to be Asian to come to CAAMFest. Anyone can come.
Yay.
Yay. Um,
Inclusion.
Inclusion, of course.
Got
And,
it.
yeah. And then, I think our stories are so universal. They're specific and very universal at the same time and totally relatable, I think.
Mhm.
And I mentioned our music programs. Our big concert this year is Directions in Sound. We're collaborating with the Yerba Buena Gardens Festival, and our headlining artist is Tao, formerly of Tao and the Get Down, Stay Down. Jeff is freaking out right now.
I've had the fortune of seeing Tao at a church in Austin for last year's South by. Holy moly. Like I'm familiar with her music, but seeing her live is a whole other experience. Just
She's
amazing.
she's amazing, and she's
Yeah.
local. She lives
Right.
here in the
Yep.
city. Yeah.
Yep.
And did I mention that the concert's free?
Oh no, let's go back to that part.
Yeah, it's free and it's outdoors in the Yerba Buena Gardens. It's BART accessible and metro accessible. Yeah, so bring a picnic blanket, bring some snacks. Our opening act is Nickbo, and she is also an incredible emerging Filipina American singer, songwriter. Her voice is just so beautiful. I thought, between her and Tao, it's just going to be a really, really awesome show. And, I mentioned, or you also mentioned, we do food. And one of the food programs I would love to talk about, it's called Preserving Taste with Comage by Chef Hanif Sadir. Comage is a restaurant in the Mission, and Chef Hanif serves Northern Iranian cuisine.
Mm,
And this is inspired by a short film we have actually about him, also in the festival as part of the Ecologies of Sustenance Shorts program. Um,
awesome. We
which
should have we should have recorded after lunch. I'm starving and
I
that
know, me
sounds
too.
that sounds amazing.
I know. I'm definitely gonna go eat some food after this. Um, I know. So, Iranian food here in the Bay is there's just not a lot. There's
It's
not a
hard to
lot.
find. Yeah.
It's hard to find. And Chef Hani was telling me that Northern Iranian specifically is very rare.
Mhm.
And so this is going to be an amazing opportunity for folks to just have a multi-course family style dinner. And I think, the price is pretty reasonable, $60 for 3 courses or so. And, bring your family and friends. It's vegan. Well, there are vegan options as well as one pescatarian option as well.
Mhm.
And so very, again, inclusive of all eating dietary needs. Yeah, we have all of our shorts programs too. There's just so much, Jeff.
Well, I know that yeah, and I'm not crazy about when people ask me, for example, what's your favorite podcast episode you've done? It's hard to, and so to that point, I realize it's a tough question. Let's highlight it. Where can folks go to find out everything that's part of CAMFest 2024?
Absolutely. They could go to caamfest.com, CAAM fest.com. You can buy your tickets online as well. You can also buy them at the theaters, but I recommend that you buy them online in case we
Okay.
sell out. Yeah.
Okay, well, any parting words, anything else you want to say about, this is your job. How freaking awesome.
It's a pretty amazing job. I love what I do. I get to watch so many incredible stories and films and all the filmmakers I meet. I mean, every year I just get so inspired. And, like this is one of the I think this is the only place in the Bay Area where you can see this number of Asian American films because a lot of them don't go on to streaming after.
Mhm.
So that's why I really encourage people to try and make it out. I would say that a lot of our filmmakers are coming, like 80% of the filmmakers are coming. So there will be Q&As afterwards. So you'll get a chance to meet them and talk to them. And CAAMFest is just such a warm and welcoming environment for folks. And it's fun. Like, our music programs, it's fun. Like, and it's just a great thing to do, if you're looking for something to do with your family and friends. And yeah, it's going to be in the spring. So, beautiful weather is coming. And so I'm really excited for this. And it just feels like a really nice kickoff to summer here.
That was Thuy Tran from CAAM. Next week on the podcast, we'll be back with a regular episode, part 2 with Danny Montoya from Butterfly Joint and Cafe. That drops next Tuesday, wherever you get podcasts. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 6th season, we have more than 200 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're able to, please rate and review the show, and drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Keep rejecting those silly doom loop narratives about our city. Stay wacky, weird, healthy, and creative. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco. We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.